Hey, what's going on, everybody? Today I'd like to show you another Beastwars Deluxe review. Today we're looking at Retrax. Now, Retrax is supposed to be a terrestrial isopod. There are a variety of them. I believe he is intended to be a reference to the roly-poly, that's what people call them, because you can see his gimmick. His gimmick does this thing here, and, well, that's what they're known for, is being able to do that. Although, he doesn't really look, to me, he doesn't really look much like an actual isopod. Not that much, anyway. I can still tell where they were going with this, and enough to appreciate it. This figure has a strange relationship with the collectors. Some people absolutely hate this figure, and so much so that it actually is included on top 10 lists for worst Transformer ever in a couple of cases. I find myself being strangely endeared towards it. Maybe it's just because of my background in entomology and marine biology, but he looks, well, okay, I'll say it. There are a number of intertidal marine isopods that actually are this color. I don't know of any actual terrestrial isopods that are this color of green, but there are definitely marine species that look like this. And I've always imagined Retrax as being a marine Predacon, much like Razorclaw, even though that's not really suggested anywhere in his canon, you know, in his bio. In fact, he's described as being a coward, which does not make any sense to me at all in light of how armored he clearly is, and the weapons, and what he looks like in his robot mode, which we'll get to in a bit. He has a few gimmicks here. He's got what looks like a stinger that comes down like that. True, real isopods don't actually have any kind of venom. They don't have a stinger, but, you know, you can imagine that that's just a really pointed Telson that he uses as a weapon. And he's got these mandibles, and they have the ability to stay open, lock into place, and then there's a button that fires them like that with a spring-loaded action. It's a little bit like Beastwars Insecticon's mandibles, but again, this one's spring-loaded, that one's not. They are both geared, though. Yeah, it's pretty interesting. His eyes. Now, his eyes have been a source of criticism in some places. They have that weird red design in the compound eye. Like, I don't mind the eyes being black, and actually he would be probably very threatening if they were just black, but they were painted over with this interesting shape. I don't completely hate it. It looks like his eyes are some sort of LCD screen almost, and this is how he emotes. His eyes have these graphics on them that change shape depending on his mood, maybe? That's an interesting direction to take this. I mean, it would give him the ability to interact with other characters without, you know, because obviously his face is totally static, being that he's an arthropod. Real isopods don't have antennae that look like this. They also don't appear here. They're actually closer to down here on the real isopods, and they kind of come off to the side like that. And but I digress. That's fine. I mean, I'm not expecting perfection from toy designers like this. Marine isopods actually have, I believe they're called Europods, that come off of the edge of this, which create a sort of paddle. Terrestrial ones have that too, but they're not well, they're significantly reduced, so you can't really see them. Anyway, to transform this guy, let's do that. To transform this guy, we'll just get around like this, and there you go. There's the rub sign that has been in a lot of the figures. Not wave 1, but everything past wave 1 has those. And just flip these feet down like that. And oh, the gimmick is trying to go off. Take these legs. You can see the waist trying to move in. And take these legs, these back legs, and they actually fold up into indentations. You can see them right here in the back, or on the sides of the carapace. Now, this central one right here bends down like that, and there's a plate underneath the carapace on the one side that swings down and forms the chest. Now, the head, you can see it right now. Actually, if you look very carefully when it's in beast mode, you can see through the carapace because of that green transparent plastic. But you flip this up, and you get this very interesting sort of Darth Vader demon gas mask thing. And if you look very closely, his robot mode eyes are very much like his beast mode eyes, except the colors are inverted. Instead of red on black, it's black on red. And they're still doing that sort of weird screen thing going on where they're sort of emoting. And this is not actually complete. This is not fully transformed. Some people would stop here and they're like, "This is terrible." No. This is not complete. You go around to the back and unpeg this bit. Get this back into the locked position, the spring-loaded part. Get that back into its spring-loaded position, and now you are finished. Now he's in his complete robot mode. I think that that's pretty good. He obviously has no shoulder articulation, really, or elbow articulation at all. They're static, basically, except for the gimmick. But, you know, his arms are not simply sticking out to the side. They can be posed in this forward-leaning position. And he kind of looks like he's wearing riot gear. How about that? That pointed Telson suddenly makes a lot more sense now. It's like some sort of a shank at the end of a riot shield he can use to wreck people. And this other hand here, or this other piece of armor that's over top of his hand, that forms the head of the isopod, it's got a big claw that you can use to grab guys with, but it's also almost like an implied hand of its own, right? You can see that these would work a bit like fingers almost, in the same way that the headpiece on Drillbit's arm is kind of an implied hand. It's the same sort of thing. He could grab guys with this, and then hold them in place with this hand, and then, you know, hold them in place with this hand, turn and look at them, and then just sort of, boom, skewer them. Yeah, and that's kind of an interesting thing, that curling up gimmick in this form, if you just trigger the one side, sort of turns into a bit of a punch gimmick. It's like yeah, he can, boom, knock guys around. So I kind of imagine Retrax as being a bit of a tank, you know, heavily armored and fairly intimidating, I think. And in fact, his Japanese counterpart, Power Hug, the Insectron, works a lot like that. He is basically the Insectron equivalent of the Bull Maximal. I believe in North America he was called Bone Crusher, but I can't remember what he was called in Beast Wars 2 or Beast Wars the Second. But Power Hug was sort of his counterpart in the Insectrons. He was the strong man, the big tank. And I can kind of see that here too. He doesn't strike me as anybody that would be a coward. You could flip these up, I suppose, and use them as sort of implied energy weapons or guns like those of Tarantulas and Black Arachnia, I suppose. Although I don't think that's hinted anywhere in his tech specs. Interesting design. He's got very narrow looking legs here, very thin but huge upper torso, and I kind of like how these plates are all individually sculpted. They're all separate pieces. They're not molded together. They're separate, which is cool. I almost want to say that this is like the giant Bathynomus isopod that's found in very deep water on the bottom of the ocean. You've probably heard of them just referred to as giant isopods. There are 20 species of them. They're all pretty intimidating, and their legs are not tiny like this. They have very large, scything, talon-like legs, and they are usually described as just scavengers, but I know for a fact they are not all just scavengers. I've seen video footage of them attacking sharks, and I strongly suspect that they will attack fish if they have the opportunity to do so. So yeah, that's kind of why I imagine this guy as being more of a marine character than a terrestrial isopod. Anyway, that's enough of this review. Rate, comment, and subscribe. Tell me what you think. Is this working for you? Am I rambling too much? And I guess that's it for now.